All right, good evening and welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football updates channel. It's a pleasure to be back. I hope you guys have had a wonderful weekend. It's been a beautiful Sunday. A bit sunny and, a bit calm as well. So, yeah, beautiful day that we did witness down in Kampala. I hope you guys did experience the same. Otherwise, I pray you all good. It's good to be back. It's a pleasure to be back. Thank you so much to all those that managed to be part of last night's podcast. It was a bit short. It went on for about excuse me. It went on for about 30 minutes only. Yeah, I think slightly over 30 minutes before we called it one end, because if I'm being honest, there wasn't one too many of you on that podcast. But anyways, it is always a pleasure seeing you guys around for those that managed to catch it. And yeah, today we are back to discuss the latest once again from the world of football as we speak. That game between Real Madrid and Rio Oviedo is into halftime as Real Madrid search for their second victory of match day 2 from the Spanish La Liga, bearing in mind that Barcelona managed to crawl their way back from a 2-0 deficit to win that game 3-2 against Levante yesterday. So in spectacular fashion. So then we'll be speaking about the Premier League. We had some perfect score predictions there. We had some disappointing results. I will look to wrap it up. That way, we'll look at, of course, the game between Newcastle and Liverpool does come on Monday Night Football. And we will be discussing that, I think, tomorrow morning or in the evening, depending, but most probably tomorrow morning. Yes, we will be looking forward to doing that. Then also, I wish to send my special shout outs to all our new community members, those that recently subscribed to the channel. Welcome to the Football Tribe UG community. It's a pleasure to have you guys around. I hope you do get to enjoy your stay with us, because it's always good to see new members on the podcast. Victor Galado says hola to Ronald says hey Ronald. Victor Galado says hi everyone. Those of you that are just joining the channel, Q Adorable T. There's wow. Is that Spanish or Mexican? I'm not very familiar with the language, but thank you if it's a good comment. For those of you that are just joining us, my name is Robert Kesakos, and I do come to you from Kampala, Uganda. That's where I do come to you live from. It's 34 minutes past the hour of 11 p.m. East African time. For those of you that are just joining us, kindly like the podcast, but also please consider subscribing to the channel and help me to 2,000 subscribers. So do me that absolute honor and favor and subscribe to the channel and help me on my way to 2,000 subscribers. That's the objective for now, at least. My hope is that we can achieve it before the end of the month. Anyways, it's a football channel. It's a football a sports community, a football channel. Like I said, as it says, Football Tribe UG. So it's a tribe of football fans. Oye no queries. Please, Victor, I do not know what language you're typing in. But I wouldn't want to bite my tongue before I'm even halfway into this broadcast. But thank you so much. If your comments are being kind, forgive my language barrier. I'll try as much as I can. Let me see if I can find what this means in a snapshot, what it means in a snapshot. If any of you is familiar with the language, you can help me translate. You can help me translate so that I get to understand what Victor is trying to tell me. In any case, because I wouldn't want to miss out on some of his comments. Anyways, it doesn't look like there's a conversion for it. So widely used phrase, I don't know. Anyways, it's all good. It's all good. Today we did witness some results from the Premier League, and those did involve, some of your favorite teams like Manchester United were involved in a 1-0 draw against Fulham. We're going to be discussing that Everton managed to beat up against Brighton and Hove Albion by 2-0, while Crystal Palace did share the spoils in a 1-all draw with Nottingham Forest. A perfect score prediction for us on the channel. For those of you that were part of recent broadcasts that did preview these games, my prediction was a 1-all draw between Nottingham Forest and Crystal Palace. And then, of course, Everton. I mean, I can't say I was surprised with the result. Them cruising to a victory at home isn't really surprising. Man of the match was Jack Grealish again. Like I said, if it does fit into this Everton side, like fingers would fit in a glove, then he's going to have a very wonderful season over there. He's going to enjoy a very brilliant season over there. So, but overall, of course, Brighton, that possession best team, you expect them to, sort of win that sort of tussle and hustle when it comes to overall possession. But it was Everton that managed to put scores on board. At the end of the day, that's all that matters. That's all that counts at the most, because it was Ndiaye who opened the scoring, Jack Grealish providing the assist, as well as go. Banham, yes, forgive the mispronunciation. But yeah, 2-0 victory for Everton. Match day 2, remember their first game ended in defeat. That was a 1-0 defeat at the hands of Leeds United on Monday Night Football. So they get to post some points on board. For Manchester United, it's still just a point. While Crystal Palace, they have now 2 points. Nottingham Forest 4 points. Remember they beat up Brentford by 3-1 on the opening day of the Premier League fixture, and then while Crystal Palace were engaged in a goalless draw against Chelsea. Then Manchester United is going to formulate the gist of our conversation, but as we speak, that game between Real Madrid and Real Oviedo has returned for the second half, with Real Madrid, of course, having gone into halftime with that 1-0 lead, thanks to a goal scored by Kylian Mbappe. So we'll be following the updates from that game as we go into this broadcast, because that game does proceed an earlier fixture that did involve Villarreal, who put 5 past Girona, while in the other earlier games, Real Sociedad and Espanyol did share the spoils in a 2-all draw, and then Valencia were at the losing end of a 1-0 defeat at the hands of Osasuna. So, to the gist of the conversation, that is Manchester United. Again, I thought Man United were, if we do evaluate the Manchester United that we did watch last weekend against Arsenal at Old Trafford, I think this was a diluted Manchester United, or a diluted version of that Manchester United. Of course, they had their chances that they could have converted to win this game, but they never capitalized on them, including the captain Bruno Fernandes missing a penalty in the 36 minutes. But before that, Matthias Cunha, had missed a golden chance. He had another opportunity, put that, hit the post and things like that. So it wasn't an overall a very decent day for Manchester United. I thought Fulham looked sharp, especially in the second half. They looked really sharp. Then Amadou Diallo, again, we're going to speak about the stubbornness of the manager, but it was Rodrigo Munez's goal that gave Manchester United the lead. In the 58th minute, that ball comes in. Lenioro pushes, or I think it was Calvin Bassey. He pushes him to create himself space to head that ball. He heads the ball decently well, and it bounces off the back of Rodrigo Muniz to send the goalkeeper Bernard Leno into the opposite direction for Manchester United to open their scoring. And then in the 73rd minute, that's when we get the equalizer through Emery Smith-Rowe with Alex Iwobi. The 2 former Arsenal players combining to find the equalizer for Fulham on the day. And it finished 1-1 eventually, but Manchester United, like I said, will only have themselves to blame. Amadou Diallo did struggle in that, inverted right wing back position. He did struggle. He didn't have a good game, although he had a moment where he managed to penetrate himself into the box and had a shot on target. But that notwithstanding, I think Ruben Amorim will need to quickly, maybe it's a little too early for us to say, but given that he did not arrive at Manchester United in the summer, that he came last season, maybe he may need to adjust that, because Amadou Diallo seems not to really thrive in that right wing back position. Remember, this is, I think, arguably, goes without saying, in my opinion, V1, 1v1, I think is the best player that Manchester United do have when it comes to, a player that can dribble past opponents, a player that can take on, defenders, that relishes that moment of taking on defenders, and he does it effectively well. I think Amadou Diallo, there's no other player in Manchester United that I've watched in recent times that is capable of doing that. Once in a while, of course, Alejandro Garnacho, also utilizing his press, were capable of it. Marcus Rashford was capable of that. But I mean, with that sweet left foot, Amadou Diallo oftentimes does it effortlessly. He's always a threat when he gets into the middle third and, attacking the box, the 18 yards box, wanting to cut back, on the inside and have that shot at goal. So now, because he's being played as a wing back, it sort of lessens his goal threat or attacking threat, because he has to come from far deep when he's played in that position. Whether Ruben Amorim will look to assess that situation and perhaps make better decisions or different decisions remains to be seen. But he is a stubborn one. He did have at least. There was consistency for the side of Manchester United because the starting 11 did not change. Alai Baindia was in goal. Luke Shaw, Matas Delit, Lenny Yoro, Patrick Togu. Although you feel that on that goal, that cross from Alex Iwobi, they could have done better to track Emil Smith who always run before he taps that ball into the back of the net. So Patrick Togu, Casemiro, Bruno Fernandes, Amadou Diallo, Brani Mbomo, Mason Mount, and Matas Cunha. I've told you guys before, Mason Mount, for as long as he's fit, he's a player to watch. He seems to be one of those Ruben Amorim's favorite players. And then, of course, the summer recruiting, Benjamin Sesko, did start on the bench. Now, there's been questions over that. And Ruben Amorim did explain that, saying he's only arrived at the club 2 weeks ago, and he's still adjusting, he's still adapting, he's still learning certain things. And I mean, I couldn't agree more. Now, I know people who are thinking to themselves, but he's had a decent preseason because he was really trained well with RB Leipzig until he got to get the move. In comparison, they made that sheer comparison, and I saw a comment from, I think, Mark Goldbridge from That's Football saying, Mikel Arteta is tossed Victor Gyökeres straight into the deep end, and we're talking about a striker who did not have, a decent preseason, and yet he's, pushed him there and he's got off the mark. Why are we not getting to start, Benjamin Sesko right away? And I do understand that school of argument or line of argument, and I do respect it, I for one, because when you make the sheer comparison, it's easy to go to that conclusion, and it's a valid sort of comparison. But usually I want to give the managers the benefit of the doubt because they get to see more things in training and observe certain things before they arrive to the decisions that they arrive at. So oftentimes when I get to criticize managers and sometimes even players, but particularly when it comes to manager selections of players, I leave myself with the reservation of bearing in mind that they get to see these players train every single day, Monday to Friday, before we get into a weekend fixture. So if there's anybody that is better placed to assess them and determine whether they are ready or not ready for selection into the starting 11, then nobody comes before the manager. It doesn't matter whether you're the kids man or anything, but for us fans, okay. And usually the other argument that I tend to make about these situations is that usually it's an easy argument for us as spectators, us as fans or analysts, even to make that argument best, especially with fans. It's easy to condemn a manager's selection of a team if it does not win, that he should have gone with team A, with team B or plan B. And yet, if on another day, if the roles are reversed and it's team B, then we quickly say it should have been team A, So for us, it's easy to judge because we judge the results. Now, the manager does not judge the result. He judges the players' fitness, performance in training, and things like that to decide who gets to start. Tactically, the only thing I'm questioning are two things. Now, we all know that Bruno Fernandes has predominantly thrived as an attacking midfielder, as that number 10, as that free role kind of guy, who helps lead the press for Manchester United, even though he's not very, very good at it. He does win the ball back very often. But in terms of leading the quick press, usually he doesn't do it. However, we all know that he's thrived in that number 10 role. Ever since he arrived at Manchester United, I do not think Manchester United have had any better player than him. In any case, if there's one time that he was beaten to that accolade of player of the season, maybe it was by David De Gea, and I stand to be corrected on that fact. So you're going to a team like Fulham, and I understand he's wanting, the manager in wanting to have as many offensive players as he can have on the pitch, because in this particular season you have 4 number 10s, literally. Actually, you could even say 5. Bruno Fernandes, Mason Mount, Matthias Cunha, and Brian Mbeumo, as well as Amadou Diallo. All those are number 10s. Now, of course, when it comes to Brian Mbeumo and Amadou Diallo, those can both play off the right foot, and that's understandable. They can play as right-footed as the right-sided wingers, in that inverted role. I understand that. So, in him wanting to have as many attackers, that's a good thing. But I feel, and I've said this almost all summer, that Bruno Fernandes in that number 8 role does not really oftentimes click. Whether it will bear fruit in the future remains to be seen. But for now, it doesn't oftentimes it doesn't look too effective. Once in a while it will work, but oftentimes it won't. And today was one of those days. He's not the kind of player that helps you dictate the tempo of play, not in that sort of fashion, especially when he's coming from a deeper role as a number 8, because the number 8 requires a player who can strike a balance between offensive play and defensive play, and oftentimes he does not offer you that. He does not offer you that. He wants to be revolving around the 18 yards box, play that through pass, go for short, wait for a set piece play, speak over a set piece play. They themselves a penalty, and he missed that, and which, in my opinion, I thought it was a bit of a dubious penalty, and he missed that. He blazed that wide of the goal. Now, for me, it's no criticism to him that he missed the penalty, because any player can miss a penalty. But also credit goes to Bernardo, because he had gone the right way. And the bare minimum you can ask of Bruno Fernandes or criticize of him is at least he should be putting that ball on target. Let the goalkeeper save it. But I mean, he made it very, very easy for Bernardo, even though he had gone in the right direction. Of course, with the jumps kind of penalty kick that he attempts to do, that was the same attempt, and he missed that, which kept Fulham into the game. And I thought, like I said, in my opinion, it had been a dubious penalty. But Ruben Amorim, I mean, you're playing Fulham, and I think I stand to be corrected on this fact, but I think Manchester United had won 8 consecutive games away at Craven Cottage, and yet today they come away with only points. Now, if you're Manchester United and you're wanting to bounce back from the bad or the horrendous performances that you showed last season, which led you to finish 15th on the Premier League table, games like against Fulham, which you did, a team that you managed to beat last season, home and away, even when everybody thought you were at your worst, is a team you should be able to be beating up against now. Now, of course, you ought to bear in mind that Fulham are not an easy team. Hi, Paul. Cleophas Paul. Hi, how are you doing? It's good to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, this Sunday evening or /night, depending on your time zone. Kindly like the podcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel if you're new here. Then, so for me, I felt that there's a good number of things that Manchester United ought to work on. One, I think he may consider, and I do not know what is going to come first. Either he will consider sacrificing Mason Mount to play Bruno Fernandes in that number 10 role in the interim, or sacrifice him and pull Matthias Cunha back to play Benjamin Sesko as the outright striker, So I'll wait to see. He's trying to test what he did test in pre-season. Amadou Diallo on that side, again, did not. I think it worked. Was it the game against West Ham or Bournemouth? One of those two games, it appeared to work, but overall, it was still average. So he needs to self-correct on that. He can't stick to it for the foreseeable future, but like I said, at the end of the day, it's going to be the results that matter. It's not going to be the performances. Manchester United fans, while they may appreciate how the team is playing, may not be able to stomach it for so long to say, okay, we are playing well, but we're not being able to win games. You can only give that for so long. And when you look at when you're a team like Manchester United, you can't be clinging on to that. You're playing well. It's the results that are going to matter at the end of the day. I'm sure everybody knows that. We know that. The manager knows that if results are not happening this way, then clearly something ought to happen sooner rather than later. In as far as staying in that fall is concerned. Now, the advantage for him, at least next weekend, is going to be at home at Old Trafford against Burnley. That's a game that you expect he should be winning before we go for the international break. Of course, the international break is a bit of a double-edged sword when it comes to modern football or European football. One, you risk players going away and getting injuries at the international team. That's the huge risk. Two, but on the other side, you get that break or to assess what you've done in the first 3 weeks of the season and then see where you need to correct. Now, the disadvantage for that is that you get to do most of that work in the absence of your senior players, because when you're a team like Manchester United, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool, majority of your players are being summoned to their respective national teams. So many of them are going away. And those players that are always on the peripherals, who seldom start games, are the ones that you're left with to assess those very, incidents to say, in this moment, we could have done better. In that moment, we should have done this. Maybe if you find yourself in this position, this is the kind of decision you should be taking, and things like that. So you do the review or the mini early season review and you assess yourself. So he will get that opportunity to self-assess after that Burnley game that does come next weekend on Saturday at should be coming at about 5 p.m. East African time, So we will wait to see. But my gut feeling still has it that he will still try to go with the same team. Against Burnley, it's totally different opponent. Burnley is a very beatable team. We saw them being beaten, I think, in the opening weekend by Tottenham Hotspur by 3-0. Well, yesterday, they managed to win against Sunderland, beating them by 2-0. Sunderland, who themselves will be up against Brentford next weekend. So in that sort of breath, that's the kind of angle within which you should be looking at those things. But I think a lot was left to be desired in that game. Meanwhile, Rodrigo Goes and Franco Mastantuano are being withdrawn here in that game between Real Madrid and Rio Oviedo. Brahim Diaz is coming on, as well as Vinicius Junior. I think this is the first game that Rodrigo Goes has gotten a chance to start ever since, I think, their first game at the FIFA Club World Cup. So we'll wait and see. He's still a player that remains subject to speculation, linking him with the potential move to Arsenal, to Manchester City, to Liverpool. But we'll wait and see as far as the transfer window is concerned. So for me, Manchester United could have done better today. I could have done better. Like I said, when the season is starting and you're self-assessing in regards to, Rodrigo Goes seems to be ranting on the technical bench there. I mean, it's always frustrating for any player who thinks that they still have something to offer in the game when they get withdrawn. So it's a bit of a natural happening. I just hope his rant is less to do with the manager's choices than his own performances. on the day. I know he's just returning to this kind of action, but yeah, we'll see whether he will be leaving as the Santiago Bernabeu before the end of this current transfer window. Quickly, we go out from Manchester United and their shenanigans, but like I said, they'll try to do everything it takes to try and self-correct going into next weekend when they get to take on Burnley. Quickly, what other results? Okay, let's review some of the other results. But like I said, I think by now you know most of the results. Tomorrow, Newcastle are going to be up against Liverpool in Monday Night Football. Again, it's the kind of game whose preview is going to largely be dominated by the news of or the story of Alexander Isak, because it's a gift that keeps on giving. It's one that we cannot get off our lips until that situation is resolved. As far as Newcastle so far have failed to find forwards in the transfer window, their attempts for Johan Windsor are still failing. They felt interest in Goncalo Ramos, no movement there. They have interest in Nicholas Jackson, no movement there. After having missed out on Joao Pedro, Hugo Ekitike, Benjamin Sesko, and things like that. So Alexander Isak remains on the fringes of the team, down in the corners, not training with the rest of the team. Is having to train with the team. Sorry, after the rest of the squad have trained, and it's not an ideal situation. It's not an ideal situation. Oh, Real Madrid on the counter through Valverde nearly scored. Rodrigo sorry, Vinicius Junior should be tapping that ball in, but I think maybe he thought to himself that he could be in an offside position, so he refused to touch the ball, but it just went inches wide of the post. But yeah, so it remains a goal to nil. They were coming from a set piece, and Real Madrid came on a counter-attack. I think that counter-attack being led by Kylian Mbappe. Does the goalkeeper? No. So close, and it's so far away. Anyways, that's the game of football. Actually, the goalkeeper seemed to have gotten the fingertip on it. So a brilliant save. Adagula with a corner kick, and not the best of corner kicks. It's headed away by the Real Oviedo defense, and Real Madrid get to build again. So, like I said, that game between Liverpool and Newcastle is going to be dominated by that, and Newcastle will go into this game with a certain level of comfort, knowing that if in any case Liverpool is a team that they can manage to beat up against, having managed to beat them in the finals of the Carabao Cup at Wembley last season by 2-1. However, in the previous meetings, again last season at St James's Park, the tie ended in a 3-3 draw, while Liverpool won the reverse fixture at Anfield in February by 2-0. And then when you go back in the other previous 3 meetings prior to last season's engagements, Liverpool were unbeaten in the previous 3 games, winning 4-2, 2-1, and 2-0. So going to St James's Park and win there is not something that they are shy of, or is not something that they have not done before. They've done it. Out of the last 3 visits or at St James's Park, Liverpool have won 2 of those fixtures by 2-0 and by 2-1. So that's the kind of team we're talking about. But overall, 60 games or 60 meetings between the 2 sides, Liverpool have the lion's share of 36 wins compared to Newcastle's 11, and then 13 draws. Now, without Alexander Isak in that team, again, Newcastle's threat is more or less not totally gone, but half gone, really. So out of 10, they lose the 5 by account that they do not have Alexander Isak in that team. So you look at players like William Osula, players like Anthony Gordon. Those are the kinds of players that you're going to be relying on to, come good when it comes to the, forward lines to try and find goals for you. Players like Harvey Barnes and things like that. So we'll wait and see. In midfield, Sandro Tonali, Jolinton, Bruno Guimaraes can offer you that physical threat, that box-to-box kind of, attack. and given that it's going to be Newcastle's first home game, it's going to have a lot going for it. Eddie Howe will have to demystify the idea that they cannot perform well without Alexander Isak. He will have to demystify that. Liverpool were far from convincing, even though they managed to win their game against FC Bournemouth by 4-2. At the moment, my inclination is still, in a 2-2 draw. That's where I'm sort of leaning towards. However, I wouldn't be surprised if, that's where I'm leaning towards. Although the other part of me thinks that Liverpool get to win this one by 2-1. So, to hell with the draw. I'm going Liverpool to win this fixture 2-1. Not that I expect a Liverpool masterclass, but I feel Newcastle are a bit unsettled. That's my feeling. I could be wrong. They did share the spoils in the goalless draw against Aston Villa in the opening weekend of the Premier League. So we'll wait and see how they do fare in that respect. Then quickly, let's get going and see if there's an update. Okay, not to see, but I'm get for you the updates from the world of transfers, because they never stop. They never stop. They never stop. Looks like, is it Gonzalo Garcia set to come on? Oh, no, it could be Fran Garcia. Fran Garcia. Some rumors saying Arsenal interested in Kobe Mainoo from Manchester United. Deal is looking likely to be loan with an obligation to buy. United value him at £30 million. I mean, it's the first time I'm seeing that kind of rumor, so I wouldn't be too keen on it. Then Gabriel Jesus continues to edge closer to his return from rehabilitation after suffering that anterior cruciate ligament injury. It's been 7 months. He put out a video of him out on the grass, doing some ball work alone, saying it's been 7 months of pain, uncertainty, and anxiety. Today I finally felt light. Today I finally feel light, like a child playing football again. God is great. So I think maybe, just maybe, by the time we are done with the international break, he should be back training, maybe doing some light training with the rest of the team by the time we are done with the September international break. Those 2 weeks, by the time we're done with that. Again, for me, the only request for players like Gabriel Jesus is to stay fit. If you can stay fit, he's going to offer Arsenal an invaluable option, especially when it comes to the attack in the absence of Kai Havertz, whose fate we are yet to find out. Speaking of fate of injured players, initial reports do suggest that maybe Bukayo Saka's feared hamstring may not be as bad as initially first thought. So we will wait to see, we'll wait to see how everything will transpire in that regard. Then, okay, allow me skip that because usually I want to first verify things before I bring it. Then also today we did hear about Victor Boniface. He did fail his medical in a proposed move from Bayer Leverkusen to AC Milan in an initial €5 million loan fee for a season-long loan with an option to buy for, I think, in the excess of €20 million for Victor Boniface. He failed his medical and will be returning to Germany to play with to be at Bayer Leverkusen. Who, by the way, speaking of Bayer Leverkusen, I think they lost their first home game against Hoffenheim by 2-1. So Eric Ten Hag, by the way, was one of the very shakiest teams when it came to their preseason. They lost a good number of games there, and I mean, you can't blame them. It's a new manager. So many changes have happened in that team. Granit Xhaka gone, Jeremy Frimpong gone, Florian Wirtz gone. They have had a change in goalkeeper with Mark Flecken coming in. So Jonathan Tah, the defender, has joined by minutes. Those are all 5 starters that they've lost in one transfer window. So clearly, it cannot be that easy. Then this is an exclusive coming in from Fabrizio Romano saying Tottenham have made a bid worth 70 million euros package for Nico Paz has been turned down tonight. Tottenham bid worth 70 million euros package for Nico Paz. That's Nico Paz is at Como, has been turned down tonight. Paz wants to stay at Como with a view on Real Madrid future plus Real. We're going to match any proposal. In any case, Real have a 10 million euro buyback clause in 2026, but will compensate Como in future. So that's a deal for Nico Paz. Tottenham are scrambling around, having lost Eberechi Eze to Arsenal over the weekend in that quick transfer for the Gunners. They are scrambling around. They remain interested in signing Savinho. They've explored the deal for Nico Paz, but nothing is yet to go through at this stage. So we'll have to wait and see. Then Everton medical for Dibling will take place in the next 24 hours. That's according to Fabrizio Romano. Remember, a deal was agreed in principle for the transfer of the 19-year-old England winger for a 42 million pound package, 36 million in guaranteed fees plus 6 in easily achievable add-ons. Then also Chelsea did seal a deal with Borussia Dortmund for the transfer of Canary Chukwuemeka as well as Aaron Anselmon, the defender there, to join Borussia Dortmund, and the midfielder to join. Now Anselmon is joining Borussia Dortmund on a season-long loan, while Canary Chukwuemeka gets to join Borussia Dortmund on a season on a permanent transfer, having been with them last season on a season-long loan. So yeah, that's the update on that side. With us on Paz with Tottenham, I'm very calm and relaxed. Nico is very happy at Como. He's a top player. Nico Paz is a player that has been subject to a lot of transfer speculation. Then Franco Master-Tuano and Rodrigo Goes both go to start today. They didn't look too good and not too bad either, but yeah. Real Madrid are playing with the back three. That's risky. Quite risky. They nearly conceded opposition in a very, very dangerous position. Then what is? Ruben Amorim has confirmed. He did confirm technical decisions of Onana being benched and Baindia starting. It's the kind of decision that the manager has to make. Just try to see the game, try to imagine the next game, and try to put the best players in to win the game. So I did that. That was Ruben Amorim speaking about omitting Andre Onana from the starting 11 once again ahead of Altay Baindia. So, anyways. Okay, quickly, let's look at the latest from the world of transfer gossip and speculation before we look to wrap up tonight's podcast, because I can see it's already 9 minutes past the top of the hour. That's midnight. Manchester City winger Savinho remains top of Tottenham's wanted list, with the boss Thomas Frank keen on signing the 21-year-old Brazilian international after Spurs missed out on a deal to sign Eberechi Eze lost into Arsenal. That's according to the Independent. Tottenham have indicated to Manchester City they are willing to pay £60.7 million for Savinho, who is keen to make the move to the Londoners. That's according to TalkSport. In a bid to make it a double signing, Tottenham have also made an improved offer of about €50 million for Como and Argentine midfielder Nico Paz at 20, but the Italian club are holding out for €60 million. That's according to Sky Sports Italy, but we've discussed that as well. Manchester City, Arsenal, and Liverpool have interest in signing Rodrigo from Real Madrid. we'll discuss that again. He remains of interest. That's according to Marca. West Ham and Brazilian attacking midfielder Lucas Paqueta, 27, is also of interest to Tottenham and Aston Villa. That's according to the Daily Mail. While Monaco will accept a bid of at least £47.5 million for 23-year-old French attacking midfielder Magnez. Who is another target for Tottenham. That's according to Football Insider. While Paris Saint-Germain goalkeeper Gianluigi Donnarumma has agreed personal terms with Manchester City, with two clubs in talks over a deal which will see the 26-year-old Italian join Pep Guardiola's side. Now, when it comes to Gianluigi Donnarumma, personal terms apparently have been agreed, with the proposal coming in for slightly under 40 million euros for the 26-year-old Italian goalkeeper. Vinicius Jr. taking ages to release that ball. Vinicius Jr. has just been booked for what is considered to be diving. While he was busy asking for a penalty, the referee judged him to have dived. Okay, then West Ham boss Graham Potter is safe from the sack for now, but the 50-year-old Englishman needs to improve results soon if he wants to remain in his role as safe. Hi, Peter Parker. What's about Mbappe goal? Yeah, Mbappe's goal, good strike, does give Real Madrid the lead that they are in right now, leading by goal to nil against Real Oviedo. I don't know. They've had a slow start. For me, they are still far from convincing, by the way. They may be able to win this, but they are still far from convincing. Then Leeds have joined, are negotiating a deal to allow 24-year-old Brazilian winger Ramazani to join Valencia on loan. That's according to the Athletic. While Arsenal have agreed a deal to sign 16-year-old midfielder Victor Oha Vona from Shamrock Rovers, although it is believed that he will not join them until January 2027. They will just sign a pre-contract, which will be a record transfer for, the Switzerland, for the Irish player from Shamrock Rovers. Oh, Real Madrid almost considered an equalizer. Anyways, guys, it's been a pleasure doing this with you. Have yourselves a wonderful night. Thank you so much, Peter Parker. Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you so much, Victor, and every single one of you that managed to catch today's podcast. I'll see you guys next time. Stay blessed. Bye-bye for now.